The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
The greatest. I'll put him ahead of Woody Allen. Alan Dershowitz. They don't come bigger in Brooklyn than Alan. He loves me. And he's the greatest attorney I've ever. He's written a million good books, great books. And in fact, I'm going to be in one of them coming up. Here he is, my dear friend Alan Dershowitz. Alan, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good morning, but I'm not loving Brooklyn today. You know, you have to focus on Park Dope or Park Woke, that Park Slope bunch of idiots who decide you can't buy matzah in Brooklyn. Can you imagine my grandmother getting up one morning and being told, you can't buy matzah anymore in parts of Brooklyn because the matzah is made in Israel? Now, it is such bigotry and discrimination, the kind of thing we fought against for years and years and years in the civil rights movement, and yet all these woke idiots from Brooklyn, I don't even regard it as Brooklyn, that part of Brooklyn, Park Slope, that all the radical crazies, wokes live in, but they have their co-op, and their co-op is refusing to sell Israeli products. Thankfully, lawsuits are being brought. I think the lawsuits will win because there are statutes all over the country that prohibit discrimination based on national origin. And this is discrimination based on national origin. If you're Israeli, you're not kosher. If you're Israeli, we can't sell you. We can't let people buy. You know, the people who go into the store should have a right to buy what they want to buy. If they don't want to buy Israeli food, okay. If they don't want to buy Chinese food, if they don't want to buy Iranian, Russian, whatever, let them make the decision, but let not the store engage in this massive censorship. And the bigotry is so well illustrated by the fact that they don't ban Russian food. They don't ban Chinese food. They wouldn't even ban Sudanese food with Israel genocide going on. But Jewish food made in Israel, matzah?
Yeah.
No, you can't buy it.
Now, listen, two things about that story. First of all, I agree with you. To me, Brooklyn is the Midwood section, Sheepshead Bay, Bay Ridge, Borough Park, right. Once you get to Dumbo and Park Slope, no thank you, that's Manhattan. And secondly, the worst part about that story is the people that are offended, once again, Alan, are the Jews.
Well, rabbis too. And, there are Reform rabbis, there are rabbis who belong to Jewish Voice for Peace, which is the second most anti-Jewish organization in America. J Street has to lead the way. They are the most dangerous anti-Israel organization in America because they pretend to be pro-Israel. But you're right. Look, how many Jews voted for Mandami? People forget that thousands of Jews voted for Hitler in 1932. They thought he was good for the economy, so they voted for Hitler. They wanted to be nationalists and assimilationists. Jews voted for Mussolini. Jews can be the biggest idiots in the world when it comes to destroying their own self. They don't remember the great Rabbi Hillel who said, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? They only remember the second part, if I am for myself alone, what am I? And so Jews are a big part of the problem, particularly New York Jews are a big
the worst.
part of the problem.
No, the worst. You got this Moshe Indig. He's a rabbi. I called him out on Twitter. I fought with him. Direct message. He's part of the Satmar community. He's not the only one. I don't want to call it one community, but there's a bunch of them. And they're the worst. And, you mentioned Mamdani, and I'm going to march on Sunday. I do every year.
Good.
Thank you. And he's not coming, and I'm glad he's not coming. But what's funny to me is he'll say, I'm the mayor for all New Yorkers. That includes the Jewish people. I've been saying this all morning long. I'm going to say it again at the risk of repetition. This parade on Sunday, Alan Dershowitz, is not in Tel Aviv. I get it. Don't do it. It's not in Jerusalem. I get it. Don't do it. It's not in Haifa. This parade is on Fifth Avenue in New York City, where you won. So how much you hate Bibi, even though it is bigotry and stupid, that's fine. He's not here. This is not an Israel parade. It's a parade for Jewish people in New York City. So what's the real excuse?
Well, also, it's a parade for Christian people who support Israel and other good people around the world who support Israel. And it's a great parade. I've been to it many, 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 many times. And Look, the bigotry is outstanding. You have the 12th congressional district now. You have all these people running against each other, and they're each campaigning on who can be more anti-Israel. Who can be more anti-Israel? And we're getting, Goldman, who's a decent guy, running, and he's running against this guy Lander, who is campaigning against Israel. So it's become good politics.
Lander is Jewish. He's Jewish, by the way, Brad Lander. He's Jewish.
He's Jewish on his parents'
side.
Right. You call that Jewish. I don't call that Jewish. But he has the right to be whatever kind of Jew he wants to be. But why anybody would vote for him? My favorite candidate, though, in the 12th district is Jack Schlossberg. The Kennedy kid, the spoiled brat from the Kennedy family, who's running as well and running fairly well. But democracy is a dangerous thing. It's the greatest thing in the world, as Churchill said, the worst thing except for all the others that have been tried over time. 7,000 Texans voted last week for a woman who said she wants to put Jews in concentration camps. 7,000 Texans voted for that.
She did lose, though. But she did lose, though. She got walloped.
She lost, but she got 7,000 votes.
Yes.
And the guy in Maine may win. The guy with the Nazi tattoo.
Graham Plattner. He's a terrible person. And so is the guy that's been parading around Maine all the time, another quote-unquote Jew, Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders is campaigning for him. Liz Warren is campaigning for him. Look, they would have voted for Hitler in 1932 if Hitler promised to have minimum wages. They don't care about Jews. They don't care about fairness. They only care about their own socialist policies, and they'll vote for anybody who's a socialist. They'd vote for Stalin. They'd vote for Mao Zedong, as long as you're a socialist. And you could be the worst anti-Semite in the world, as this guy obviously is. You don't put a Nazi tattoo on your chest and then claim, I was drunk, I didn't know what I was doing, I was in the Marines, I was catching oysters, whatever. But if he wins, by the way, there will be no Republican in the entire Congress, in the House or the Senate, from all of New England. New England will become Cuba in the 1960s.
Jeez.
Not a single Republican in either the House or the Senate representing that entire region of the United States. And, New York and New Jersey are not much better. They're a little better. We've got a few. But, the northeast of the United States is becoming a bastion of socialism, which really has never succeeded anywhere in the world and never would succeed. And New York is victim of it. Thankfully, my former student Jessie Tisch is marching in the parade, and everybody ought to stand up and applaud her. She's the police commissioner. I think she's doing a great job. I hope she'll be the next mayor of New York.
She may be.
No, not the next mayor. You're the next mayor. After that, you're a little older than her, so you get to run first. You get to be the mayor, and then she becomes the mayor after that.
I'm very close with Jessica too. I know you're her teacher, but if Jessica is going to run, and she has intimated in the past. I'm not going to say whether she told me that or not, because I keep our conversations private, because they kill her. They kill her for talking to me. They kill her. But if she does want to run, I'm not going to run. I'd love to see Jessica. I don't know what she's going to run as, though. She's not a Republican. What would she run as? An independent?
She is a Democrat.
I know, but
her family have been Democrats
for
years. But
I know.
I suspect. I don't know that at least some members of her family look at the Democrats the way I do. I was a Democrat for 70 years. 70 years. I started when I was 14 years old, campaigning for Philip Schuppler on the streets of Borough Park. And, of course, I've left the Democratic Party. I spoke last night at a Chabad event, and I said, I'm going to say something that I've never said before. And I said, welcome, fellow Republicans. And I got a standing ovation.
Wow.
Because, I have become a Republican.
Yes.
I was an independent, but you helped persuade me, by the way.
Well, thank you.
You argued with me over and over again that, you can't be an independent. You have to take sides. This is an existential battle for the survival of the Jewish people. The Democrats have become our enemy, and so the enemy of our enemy has to be our friend.
Yes, I did. And you and I actually, thank you. We shared an award together that you received. I couldn't make it that night at the Metropolitan Republican Club on the Upper East Side, and they told me you stole the show. So I'm proud to be that guy standing with you, Alan. I do want to talk about a guy that I call the campus terrorist. That's what I call him. He's the face of campus terrorism. He's Mahmoud Khalil. He got some good news this week. He couldn't wait to tweet it. But everybody I talk to, all these big attorneys, say that it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of time. He will be deported. What does Alan Dershowitz think?
I think he will be deported. I think he should be deported. And by the way, that doesn't violate anybody's free speech rights. He can still speak on the internet. He can still speak on Google. He just can't be in this country. He doesn't have the right to be in this country if, in fact, he lied on his application for green card status or any other status. That's the law, and it should be applied equally to everybody. And he has to get due process and fairness, but hopefully he's on the way out and should go to a country that he supports, not a country that he hates.
Agreed. Now, tell me about Joe Biden. I think I saw maybe they already struck a deal. I don't know. But he has been the topic of conversation that he was really going out of his way to make sure that certain tapes and recordings of him were not released. And it was working for a while. I spoke to Greg Jarrett from Fox News yesterday. And I asked him flat out, could Biden be in big trouble? He said, sure. I mean, this could result in a criminal investigation, an indictment maybe one day. I don't know. Where are we in that Biden deal?
I don't think so. I think what's going to happen, though, is that the videotape is going to be released. Look, if you want to release anything, just mention the word Epstein, then it'll get released. But if everything about Epstein is released, and who was he? He's just a little schnook from Brooklyn. If everything about Epstein gets released, how do you suppress testimony by the President of the United States? He's now the former President of the United States, but the public has the right transparently to see what he said, how he said it, whether he was at that point competent or incompetent. Everybody has the right to make that judgment based on all the information. So, of course, that material should come out, and there should be no successful suppression of relevant material of that kind. Judges release deposition testimony all the time. They did it in the Epstein case, and there's no reason not to do it in the Biden case.
Final 60 seconds. Boy, the Supreme Court seems to be very busy these days with Trump stuff. I mean, really busy, right, Alan?
Yeah, look, we have a separation of powers, checks and balances, and the role of the Supreme Court is to resolve disputes between the other branches of government. I have a case in front of the Supreme Court right now, too. You probably know I'm suing CNN, and that case probably will be decided next week, whether the court will take the case or not take the case. You know, they lied, deliberately, willfully lied about me, and the judge found that they were so stupid, the commentators, they couldn't put a string of sentence together, and they couldn't understand that I said nothing of the sort, but they said I hadn't been able to prove malice, which you can't prove. It's impossible. You have to get into the head of the people. So the Supreme Court has that case in front of it now, and it has a lot of important cases. The Supreme Court is becoming a more important institution under the Trump administration because Trump, to be honest, pushes the envelope. He always pushes it to the extreme of what he believes is constitutional. Sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. But, you know, Jefferson did the same thing. Roosevelt did the same thing. Lincoln did the same thing. Almost all important presidents have pushed the limits of executive authority to the point where sometimes the Supreme Court sustains it, sometimes they don't. It doesn't say anything bad about the president to say that he's testing the limits of his authority, and he abides by the Supreme Court decisions. Trump has never refused to obey a Supreme Court decision.
Alan Dershowitz, you're brilliant. I love you. This was a great conversation. We discussed so many important things. I can't wait to do it again. Shabbat Shalom. Have a good weekend.
Shalom.
I'll wave to you Sunday. If you're watching the parade on TV, I'll wave to you, okay?
Please, thank you.
All right, buddy. Alan Dershowitz, back on Sid and Friends in the Morning.
Thanks for listening to Sid and Friends in the Morning. You can hear Sid and Friends in the Morning weekday mornings at 6. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?